Now, what happens exactly when corals start stinging each other? When this thing, it shrinks up to about like... All right, so here we are. We have the CEO of the longest fish poop ever. Lie. Oh, there it is. Oh, A1A fam, what is up? Welcome back to this channel. If it's your first time here, my name's Adam. This is A1A Adventures. Today we're going to give you an update on some of our animals, our coral tank. If you haven't seen it already, if you haven't seen our other videos where we built this thing and transformed a freshwater tank into a nano saltwater aquarium. It's awesome. Check it out, look for it. But right now, let's get down to a little bit of an update of how some of my animals are doing and their current progress. Let's go. Alright, so let's start out with my most exciting and most recent proud project on this channel. That is this saltwater nano coral tank right here. It's a mini coral reef. We have a variety of corals. I did a little bit of changes this week, and that is adding, I also made this rack, this beautiful little frag rack, which houses or allows you to put, a frag is a baby coral that is mounted to usually a calcium plug, is what they're referred to as. And you could kind of keep all your little corals on there. This will definitely support many of them. And let's see. And that's our little hammer coral right up there because our corals started stinging each other. Yes, corals can sting each other. So what had happened was... What was happening was basically that hammer coral right there was housed right back there in the middle of the screen. And if you look at our other coral videos, you'll see that that's where it was, and it was very big and very voluptuous in size. Now what happened was it was stretching and touching the Massalia coral. It was starting to touch the zoopolyps up there, and things started to get nasty. Now what happens exactly when corals start stinging each other is that they start retracting. They start shrinking, and they can also be damaged. You can also lose a portion of your colony. You can lose the entire colony depending on what corals are stinging each other. If they're hard corals, stony corals, soft corals, it doesn't matter. All corals react differently, and they all have different levels of toxins towards each other. Not to mention, I definitely could use a little scrubbing on the walls of this tank. The glass is looking a little bit algae, but once again, the snails love the algae in here, and they do an amazing job at keeping this tank close to spotless as spotless could be. Look at these little beauties too. It's almost like a kelp bush or something of some sort. They grow out of the rocks. We had them in the very beginning when we first got this live rock. We brought it home. There was like one little stem, one little leaf. It's turned into an entire bush, and it's very beautiful actually. It looks kind of like a tree, and there's another little one growing right up here in the corner, right in the middle of that screen, right under the snail. So those are interesting because as the lighting and as the minerals are offered to this tank on a daily basis, it definitely proves that the water parameters are very good for growing nearly anything. We have some, a little bit of blue sponge back there in the middle growing. We had some other sponge that I had to take out. There was like 10 pieces of sponge coral growing in this tank that I didn't want to take over the tank. Plus it started to grow a little bit on those little zoas that in the crevice in the middle that they're glued onto. It started to grow there, which is not good. Not good because I don't want them, overpowering that little coral, because there are only little 4 heads coming out of that coral, so it's still a baby. It's in a baby phase right back there, so I want to kind of protect that. Actually, there's 5, I'm sorry. So I didn't want, sponge are good. I've done a lot of research on sponge, and it's, it's a great filter feeder in a sense. It definitely does help filter the water out, but there was literally, I think, 10 or 15 of them, and they were growing fast. So I did what I had to do, and I removed about half of them. The Kenya tree coral down here, which, let's see. Can you get a shot? Not so much. You can get a little view of it, despite the algae. It blows like a tree. It's very tall. It's about, when this thing, it shrinks up to about like, sorry, I wiped the butter off my fingers, but that tree actually is about 6 or 7 inches tall normally. And it's about right next to those 2 mushrooms, about right in between the big green Rhodactis mushroom and then the little purple one, and reached all the way to the top with its potential to as well sting the other coral. So I noticed that some of those corals were retracting because it was always waving, like it's doing now, in the direction of those other corals. So you got to protect and space these corals out strategically, so they don't take over one another's space, and so they stay safe and not damaged by another coral. God, savage sea animals and creatures. These little stinging sea plants. I moved the Xenia coral down here as well. They were back here before, but I just felt, I don't know. I felt to move them in another spot to see how they do with just a drop more current than they had before. I know they do well in more of stagnant waters, but I've also, I've seen somebody have, good success, or the YouTubers I was watching that have success with them having some moderate current. So why not add a little current? Don't judge the lighting. The lighting is about to basically shut off in the next 30 minutes. So it's at its basically sunset phase, so to speak. Unfortunately, when it is in that mode, some of these corals aren't out and about as much as they typically are. The green star polyps do great. They're about to go to bed. Polyps are doing great. Massalaya, the Candy King coral back there. Probably going to dip it soon if a little bit algae on the bottom doesn't get eaten up by those snails, but that's okay. And everything else looks pretty good. So I didn't want this to be too, and also the Rickordia mushroom. How beautiful. So I didn't want to make this too long of a video updating on the coral, but I just wanted to show that, it's going great. Honestly, I love it. The light is great. The setup is great. Water parameters are great. I do a weekly water change on it, only taking about 25%, not even 25%. It's like a good 15 to 20%. I feed 1 to 2 times per week, and I offer minerals every single day. And I rotate with amino acids about 2 to 3 times a week. Keeps everything perfect. Not to mention, if you guys haven't seen, I think in our last video, either it was here or it was TikTok, but I made a video because in that middle hole right there lives a baby mantis shrimp. Now that baby mantis shrimp comes out, oh, and not to mention, I wanted to show you this before I forget. Look, we still have, see those little tentacles back there? There are a bunch, those are starfish tentacles. We have a bunch of starfish in here. Now they are so small and they're brittle stars, they're brittle starfish. So, let me see if I could find a couple. There's 2, because there are honestly some really cool spots that you could find tentacles in here. So if I could find them, I'll point them out. But let me just continue talking about the mantis shrimp, and I'll continue also looking for tentacles. But this mantis shrimp that we have in here is a baby. It came in as a hitchhiker on some of these rocks that we got, these live rocks, when we first started this tank. Now this mantis shrimp is only about 1 inch long, but it's grown triple the amount of size in the past I'd say we have this tank for about 4 months now. So it's grown. If you've seen our first video when we first unpacked these live rocks, and all of the creatures that are on it were insane. I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to see that video. And it was really cool, actually, setting this tank up and, getting all the live rock and unboxing it. Just like I mentioned in that video, it was like Christmas, because all of the live creatures on these live rocks that you can get, from the Bahamas, from the Caribbean, they're called Haitian live rock because it's pretty much from off the coast of Haiti. So they have a lot of really cool Caribbean life on them. Definitely not cheap, of course. I think it was $9 a pound. So I think right here we had about, I think 15 or 20 pounds of rock. So it's definitely not cheap rock. It's worth it. It's amazing if you can have access to it. I've seen it sold online on different websites as well. So if you look for any live rock to start, if you're looking for live reef rock, that's a whole different story of looking for, in a sense of just reef rock that's dry, it's been bleached, it's kind of been processed, and, it's a little more aesthetic if you're looking for all of, just a all white, clean coral rock look, as opposed to having the live rock here, which has coralline algae growing on it. It has a whole bunch of different things growing on it. You have different critters. It's basically alive. You got different, like I said, kelp kind of pieces. If you know exactly what that is, help a boy out and please comment below on what that is. I've done research, and I've even researched clove and saltwater clove plant, clover-like plant, nothing, not a zip. And all in all, this whole entire experience in this coral tank build has been a treat. So, and not to mention, in the future, I'll go basically over, more or less how much we've spent on each coral, why I chose these coral, are they hard, are they hardy, are they, and by I mean hard, are they difficult, are they easy to care for, just all basically my trials and tribulations of starting this nice little nano reef tank. Which corals I would stay away, which corals I would encourage to buy, all of the above. Well, here's all my stuff from when I did my water change earlier. So I did a water change on the coral tank earlier. I'm looking for my fishy doodah. Where's my little fish? There we are. Hello, hello, hello. I call this fish Twitch, because Twitch once had its tail bit off, and Twitch is still kicking and thriving. And during the recovery process, that Twitch had to endure, it developed a very bad, like, nervous twitch kind of tick to it, but it's no longer present, so I couldn't even show you that right now if I wanted to. But if you look back at one of our older videos of when this fish was in a fish hospital, my injured fish are fighting and eating each other. Yeah, you can't miss this fish in the thumbnail. And that tail was raw. And it was by a crab that we had in our bigger tank, but that's another story because we don't have that crab anymore. Not to mention why I'm showing you this tank right now, because we had a crab. I don't know if you saw it. I forgot if I posted it on YouTube or TikTok, but there was a crab in here, okay? We had a nice crab, and it was an emerald crab, and it started to creep up the walls one night along the caulk and the seal of the side of this tank. And now what happened? I should have taken consideration to what it was doing. When animals doing things, and I see those things, you kind of have to take action. Because what happened only 24 hours later, that crab climbed up this air hose tube, which is, I'm going to give a good piece of advice. Tread carefully when having an air hose tube that escapes out of your saltwater fish tank, or freshwater fish tank for that matter. Because I've lost crawfish. I should have learned. Crawfish have crawled out of my freshwater tanks, but in this instant, I lost a saltwater crab this week. One that was coexisting perfectly fine with this fish, and I should have learned. I should have known that. Why didn't I? Either way, I posted it on TikTok, and what a sad day that was. But this fish is doing well, and we do have another little crab that we actually, I don't know. We got it off the rocks, obviously, by the beach. I'm going to show you that. It's actually in the tank in our room, which used to be the nano tank prior to us expanding it. All right, so here we are. Now, this is only a 5-gallon saltwater nano tank, and in here lies, oh, there it is. Oh, it was right there. There he is. All right, I'm actually gonna feed it, okay? I brought some food with me, so I'm gonna feed it, and it'll come out. Boom, let that sink. That little pellet's gonna sink. It'll fall right by its hole. Oh, it's gonna come out. I know he smells that pellet. I know it smells that pellet. This crab is really cool. Now, oh, this crab is definitely gonna live longer than the other one did because we used to have the air hose in this tank as well. We took the air hose out of this tank because we learned, like I said, from the first time, only if that stuck with me. And I would absolutely have eliminated having an air hose in that fish hospital tank, which I still call a fish hospital, even though that fish is 120% healthy at this point. That's just stuck that name for that tank. And this is a pretty little crab. I think it's a sargassum seaweed crab. It's a little red crab. And we found it in the seaweed too, so it's pretty cool. But the other crab, and it definitely burrows all these holes under the rocks. It is so cool. It is such a cool crab to have. Come out. Come out. Come on, come out. They want to see. Look at you. Look at you. Get your dinner. It's on the other side. Come all the way out. Crabs are so cool because, you know, crabs can smell. I mean, no matter... I feed this little guy shrimp pellets, so... And it is literally the size of a pinky nail, so there's really hard to show you a good reference. Just go right to the front. Go down, go to the front. It'll smell it. Sinking pellets are always amazing for crabs, whether they're hermit crabs or whether you have ocean crabs, because, I mean, crustaceans, they have that ability to smell that, whether it's rotting, decaying flesh or food or fish. There you go. You're almost there. Oh, you're almost there. I think I scared it because it was actually right by the bottom. But look, it's trying to reach for it with its little leg. But they have a great ability of detecting food or even decaying matter from across the tank. So I'm trying to keep calm, talk a little bit more tame, just so I don't scare this crab. Come on, reach for it. Reach, 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 reach. You're almost there. You got it. You pretty much got it. Slam dunk. Got it. Score. It's going to rush back in its hole now. It's going to say, see ya. Goodbye. I got my food. I'm good. So, I mean, crabs are really cool. You just have to have a good tank setup. And when I say they are so easy, minimal oxygen requirements. I mean, if anything, if you want to throw a couple calcium drops in your water every now and then, that would do great. And the only thing that really serves a purpose for it is just to assist with proper calcium levels so they can molt properly. Because crabs do shed their shell, which, you know, essentially is like their skin. And that's when they grow, they create a whole entire new shell. And some crabs do eat that exfoliated shell, just like crawfish do for calcium, just for, you know, even nutrition, because it does actually yield some nutrition properties to it. But you know, it's so easy to take care of a crab. I mean, literally, if you just don't have an air hose, like, you know, my silly self did several times. But, you know, I like having air hose, especially when there's a fish involved, because sometimes, you know, certain, you know, flow mechanisms don't require enough aeration in the water. So even if, you know, I have several videos on adding aerators to saltwater tanks, the do's and the don'ts, the goods and the bads of it. So check our videos, because they have, you know, benefits, but they also have downsides to them. So it's kind of up to you, especially when you have a scape artist. And we have the CEO of the longest fish poop ever. Look at that. That's a juicer. That's beautiful. That's nice. Thanks. Oh, goodness. And this tank was super duper clear last week, and now it is enduring a second cycle. We've had this tank running now for over a month. It's enduring a second bacteria cycle. Why and how? Let's get back to the crab subject. Our hermit crab down there is still fiddling and eating around with its previous molt. Yes, that is its old legs down there. So, and as I said, you know, some crabs do actually eat and scavenge their own previous existing shell. This is a very big hermit crab. Don't worry, the fishes are all okay, because this crab literally is the most chillest hermit crab ever. Whoop. Don't be a bully, Mr. Goby. So long story short, that actually will raise ammonia levels, and in a nutshell, like a shell, that actually will trigger and can trigger a whole second bacterial bloom in your water. Is that good? Yeah, it's absolutely, honestly, no problem. I mean, tanks, it's very typical that they go through several cycles until they're fully established and ready to just add any fish, and basically coral too. I mean, it has to go through a certain bacteria cycle in order for it to be adequate for all different types of sea life. The only thing that you can do is, if it doesn't clear up within several weeks, I'd say at least by the second or third week, then you could start to do water changes, of course, and just continue your normal water change routine, and things will be absolutely back to normal. Within a very short amount of time, of course. Oh, look at that thing. They're chasing it. What? 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 Also, our seaweed blenny in here is pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and drop some food in there. I'm not going to focus on this guy like I focus on the coral and the crabs. I'm going to actually end this video here with the feeding of the seaweed blenny. Now, let's see. Come out, wherever you are. Where are you? So all your food is falling. It's so fast. Please comment a name down below. We have not named this little guy yet, and he's going to come out here any second. Where are you? Where are you, Mr. Blends? Up there you are, right in the middle. Boom. Oh, look at you. Woo! Quick like lightning. It's very similar to the goby. Hey, over there. I see you. I see you. I see you. I notice you. So it's really cool. This one's, I mean, they're both carnivorous, but this blenny, it's so wild. It reminds me, I don't know why, of a velociraptor, but they have a certain different structure, a neck structure. They actually have, it's almost like a vertebrae, because it can turn its neck, not like a fish. It can literally move its head up around. It looks like it's thinking sometimes. I don't know. I was thinking even to name this thing Einstein, because it's so smart and it's always doing new things. So if you have a better name, just comment below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Let me see if I could find them one more time. There you are. Always stay adventurous. Thanks for watching this video. Like and subscribe to this channel. Smash that like button on this video. A1A Adventures.